At first, I really loved my apartment, but over time, I lost that appreciation. My apartment was cramped, it was very tiny. My shower would leak all over the bathroom floor. And every night during dinner, I would hear my neighbors through the walls yelling about who used the good spoon. And it didn't feel good to be home. I wanted to get away. And then my friend Garrett asked if I wanted to go to Japan with him. And he said, it'll be great. We can eat sushi and we can ride the bullet train. And I considered it. And then Garrett said, we can even stay in a castle hotel. And I thought, a castle hotel? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. And I pictured this majestic Japanese castle, right? And maybe it would have a drawbridge and a moat, just the opposite of my apartment. And I wanted to experience it. And that tipped the scales. I said, you know what? Okay, let's go. I took a chunk of my savings. I bought a plane ticket. And Japan was incredible. We toured ancient temples, and we ate food that tasted how food here like tries to taste. And we talked to so many robots because everything is robotic in Japan. In a gas station bathroom, I had a really meaningful conversation with a toilet seat. And so our trip was coming to an end. I didn't want to go back to my very loud, leaky, cramped apartment, but thankfully we saved the best for last, the Castle Hotel. And so Garrett led the way through the neon streets of Tokyo, and I kept trying to figure out where a castle would even fit in around all the karaoke bars and ramen restaurants. And then Garrett stopped. He said, we're here. And I looked around, and there was no drawbridge. There's no moat. Just this dystopian gray building made out of steel. I said, how is this a castle? And Garrett clarified that I had misheard. We weren't staying at a castle hotel because that's not a thing. We were staying at a capsule hotel. That's C-A-P-S-U-L-E, capsule. For the uninitiated, like I was, a capsule hotel is a minimalist space designed to accommodate people traveling for business. You sleep in a tiny compartment or a capsule. And Garrett said, this is going to be fun. And I kind of composed myself for a second. I thought, okay, this isn't a castle. But this is going to be fun because this is still way better than home, okay? We went inside, and I was handed this pair of mandatory pajamas. They were long sleeve. They were made out of burlap. And when I put them on, they felt so heavy, like I had jumped into a pool, fully clothed. And it's interesting because you think that that would be really uncomfortable, and you'd be absolutely right. It was terrible. But I told myself that it was unique, right, and that I was having fun. And so I went up to the 5th floor where the rooms were, and when I got there weren't rooms. There was just room. This long corridor with hundreds of these compartments in the walls, like where you keep the bodies in a morgue. And with optimism, I found my compartment, my capsule, and I climbed up and in, and I lowered the bamboo shade. And I don't know how many of you have spent time inside a coffin before, but it's not as great as you think it would be. In order to fit, I had to curl up, but the space was so narrow, all I could do was kind of turn my torso one way and kind of crane my neck down the other way. So I just laid there, just getting scoliosis, trying to sleep. But every time I almost fell asleep, someone in a nearby coffin would thrash around or snore or let their phone go off, and the noise was incessant the entire night. Okay? And if that wasn't enough, my little capsule kept getting hotter and hotter. It felt like I was in a greenhouse because like my breath was just bouncing off of the ceiling back into my face until I hit like 90% humidity. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there all twisted up, having a full-on just existential meltdown. And it got to the point where I wished I was in an actual coffin because death would have been sweet relief. The biggest souvenir that I brought back with me from Japan was claustrophobia. And so the next morning when I got up, I was so sweaty and I was so sore, I just wanted to take a shower. And I went to the showers, and when I got there, there weren't showers. There was just shower. It was this one gigantic communal shower, and there were a couple hundred businessmen in it, and they were all naked, as you are in the shower, I guess. And they were all sitting on these little tiny stools, right? Like the kind of stool you would sit on if you were gonna milk a cow, I guess. But none of them were milking cows. They were all just sitting there, staring at me, watching me clean myself. And in that moment, I decided that I was not having fun and that I wanted to go home. And so later that day, I flew back across the Pacific, and then I drove across Los Angeles, each of which took about the same amount of time. And when I got back to my apartment, I rediscovered my appreciation for it. My apartment wasn't cramped. It wasn't tiny. It was huge. I could stand up in it, right? I could even walk around in it. It was amazing. And when my neighbors yelled about the good spoon, they only did so during dinner, right? It wasn't incessant. That's pretty considerate. And my shower leaked all over the bathroom floor, but at least there weren't a bunch of strangers watching me bathe. I had more than I had ever realized. My apartment was the castle. And for the first time in a very long time, it just felt so good to be home. Thanks.